All right, you're listening to Landless People's Liberation Radio on KEXU 96.1. Poor People's Revolutionary Radio and TV, y'all. That's right, poor people. We poor. We so poor we can't even afford the other O and the R. So help us out, support us, keep us on the air. Contact our website and it will tell you how you can support this endeavor. So tonight we have a very, very special guest on here tonight, Ida McCray. And just like to run down something about Ida. Ida McCray is the director of Families with a Future, a nonprofit organization that, through donations, provide transportation so that women, prisoners, can see their children. Without intervention, many children lose contact with their mothers, and many mothers lose custody of their children. Families with a Future is committed to providing that intervention. Ida McCray teaches as an adjunct professor at San Francisco City College while continuing her work with incarcerated women and facilitating their re-entry to the community upon leaving prison. A former political prisoner, Ida is a role model of achievement for formerly imprisoned, raising a consistent, powerful voice against unjust laws that negatively affect women and their families. Ida lived in Cuba for a number of years, witnessing what life can be like when government serves the best interests of women and their children. In 2000, Ida was named a community fellow by the California Wellness Foundation, and since that time has received numerous congressional, governmental, and grassroots recognitions and awards. That is quite impressive. Welcome to the show tonight, Ida.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored to be alive and be here.
So, turn the mic on. I got to do all that over again?
No, keep going. Keep on rolling.
So anyway, Ida, so let's get started here, and let's begin. And can you tell the folks how you became involved with Families with a Future?
Very simple. I was, after living several years in Cuba, which was astronomical. When I went to the hospital, nobody ever asked me for an insurance card. After leaving Cuba, I was underground or a fugitive, depending on who's talking, for several years. And then I got a conviction of a 20-year sentence, which I served. And in that, when I left, the biggest problem with me and the rest of the women there was being able to see their children. So I was gracious. It was good I was able to leave alive. And in that, when I left, I made a vow in myself to try to help other women who were unable to see their children, especially women serving long-term sentences, because this society throws away women, through femicide and so many other ways. And in that, when a woman is locked up, there's not a slew of people, and I know there's some men who don't get visits either, but especially the whole genre of this country is don't stand by your woman, it's stand by your man. And many women lose their children. Family members turn against you because you're the bad mother, especially because of a lot of belief systems in la madre, la madre, la madre. And in that, when that's broken through systemic oppression and recruitment for the prison industrial complex that we all still live up under, I got involved through help with other people to start a not-for-profit, and that is being able to help women see their children, especially those serving long-term sentences, however I could.
All right. Okay, so, looking at that, thinking back, during the days of chattel slavery here in American, families were separated on the auction blocks. Children were wrestled away from their mother's bosoms and sold off to the highest bidder. So in a way, it kind of parallels that with the prison industrial complex and people being involved in that. And constantly children are taken away. I know many instances where children have been taken away from their parents because the parents have been incarcerated. So for me, that parallels that going back to the chattel slavery day or the bullwhip days.
Nothing's changed. We are still in the same system as when the first kidnapped people from Africa came over. The faces have changed, and you have to remember we're living in America, and that is weapons of mass distraction. So in that, the distraction has been, we're going to separate them because they were bad or they did something. And in that, you have the same result. You have the death, the spiritual, the ancestral, the cultural death of families being separated. And in that, we have the further infestation of social media that's putting trash in so we get trash out.
All right, okay. So there are parallels.
Oh yeah, nothing changed. You know, we're still in the same system. You know, plantations, CEOs, corporations, plantations, they all collude together, and it's the same result, and that's to keep the people oppressed and confused, where they don't know who the real enemy is and don't know how to fight, and you feel empathetic as to where the apathy. I mean, as to what to do. But we have to organize. We have to unite.
Okay, so Ida, let me ask you this: can you share with us some of the highlights of the work that you do, and also some of the challenges that you encounter through your work of intervention?
Well, the highlights is being able to I have a fiscal sponsor, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, and in that I don't have to worry about the other stuff. But the highlight is being able to help women see their children. For example, just last week I was able to help a woman, I'll call her C, and in that she was given a domestic violence charge, which she was really reacting to having been abused. But, you know, it's a lot easier for them to arrest women in this case. And then they took her children from her, and they made her pay almost $50 an hour to visit her children. And her children are in Salinas. And so, but she was up here in a program, and the program, of course, these monopolized programs, whose name won't go mentioned right now, take all of their money. And we were able to connect her with her children so she could go to court, so she could pay the people who for these supervised visits, even though no harm was there to the children, and the children were not there when the harm was done, so-called harm. That's one of the highlights, and that just happened last week. So we were able to give her money for a hotel, and able to have her connect with her children, and she got a very positive result. And the result is they're going to start allowing her to have visits with her children again, and that's what it's about. And it's about inspiring her and letting her children know that, you know, she hasn't been forgotten, and it's empowered her in the sense. So that's one of the greatest things that happened last week, you know.
Right.
Right.
All right. So, okay, we're going to have to be wrapping it up a little bit here. But before we go, for those who find themselves in that type of situation, mothers who found themselves being kidnapped and held captive by the state, and the threat of their children being taken away from them, how can they reach out to you, Ida, and your organization, Families with a Future, to possibly intervene?
Okay, even before they get to me, you need to network with people next door. You need to network with people down the street. We got to create these communes and collectives where the children are not in the system, and that way, because number one, you talk about a challenge I have. I don't look for money. I don't tap dance very well, and in it, I just look for donations. And that's the way it goes, okay? My mama didn't tap dance, so I ain't got no business tap dancing for their little money. Send some money to Families with a Future when you can, and, you know, we work with what we have, you know. But the power of the people is with the collective living. And I think there's lots of examples of that. If we just look back in her stories and find out how people made it. We made it by binding together, looking out for each other's children. And if one gets kidnapped, don't worry, somebody else is there, all right? and not allowing the system to get in the business, because they'll send your children off to somewhere, and they wouldn't give a biological mother 2 cents, but they'll give an adopted family up to $6,000 a year for whatever the things that they need. They need they need this, they need that, but you know, they don't have 2 cents for the biological mother. So that should tell us something. Our greatest resource is each other.
That's right.
All right. And if you want further information about Families with a Future, you can go to on the web, Families with a Future, all one sentence word, .wordpress.com. Families with a Future, .wordpress.
Better yet, 1540 Market Street, Suite 490. I'm under legal services for prisoners and children, and if you got 5 or 10, or if you got a bus ticket to go somewhere that's indefinite, let us have it. You know, that's the best way. I don't do too much.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Ida, again, thank you for joining us tonight on Landless People's Liberation Radio. Appreciate you being here and providing such a great needed service for the community. You've been listening to KEXU 96.1 FMPL. This has been your pole scholar, Biz Molotov, a.k.a. the Voodoo Child. And we out.